the artillery officer who shook Europe. The Epic of Napoleon Bonaparte.
1. A Corsican stranger, the ambition of an ostracized child.
Born in 1769 on the island of Corsica, which had been newly acquired by France, Napoleon was the child of a noble yet impoverished family. Because of his short stature, broken French and Corsican accent, he was constantly ostracized and mocked by his aristocratic classmates during his military school years in France. However, this alienation fueled his ambition rather than causing him to withdraw. He devoted himself to history books and the battle tactics of Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar. He was not just a lonely boy, but a genius planning his future.
2. Brilliance shining in the chaos of revolution, Toulon and Italy.
The French Revolution of 1789, while tearing down the old order, created a unique opportunity for talented but non-noble officers like Napoleon. In 1793, he played a critical role in the siege of the port of Toulon, which was held by British-backed royalists. Recapturing the city by masterfully positioning his artillery earned him the rank of brigadier general when he was just 24 years old. Subsequently, placed at the head of the army of Italy, he rallied the devastated French soldiers, crushed the Austrian armies one after another, and made his name known throughout Europe.
3. From deserts to power, the Egyptian dream and the first consul.
Obsessed with the mystique of the East and the legacy of Alexander, Napoleon set sail for Egypt with his fleet to cut off Britain's colonial route to India. By defeating the Mamluks at the Battle of the Pyramids, he proved his military genius in the deserts as well. However, when the British Navy destroyed the French ships, he was left stranded in Egypt. Upon receiving news of political crises erupting in France, he left his army behind and secretly returned to Paris. Through a coup d'etat in 1799, 18 Brumaire, he overthrew the weak government, declared himself first consul, and became the sole ruler of France.
4. The man who took the crown in his own hands, emperor and the son of Austerlitz.
Napoleon's ambition could not be contained within the borders of the Republic. In 1804, in a magnificent ceremony held at Notre Dame Cathedral, he declared himself Emperor of France. The most striking moment of the ceremony was when he took the crown from the Pope's hands and placed it on his own head, proclaiming to the world that he drew his power from no one but himself and his sword. A year later, in 1805, he shattered the combined armies of the Russian and Austrian emperors at Austerlitz, the Battle of the Three Emperors, with a tactical masterpiece. This victory was the absolute zenith of his military career, and the map of Europe was now being drawn on his desk.
5. Hubris and the White Hell, the frozen lands of Russia.
Napoleon's desire for conquest led him to his greatest mistake. In 1812, he invaded Russia with an unprecedented massive army of 600,000 men, the Grande Armée. However, instead of fighting him, the Russians retreated, burning their cities as they went. When Napoleon reached Moscow, he found the city in flames and deserted. Supplies were depleted, and the infamous Russian winter had set in. When he gave the order to retreat, freezing temperatures plummeting to minus 30 degrees Celsius, starvation and the hit-and-run attacks of the Cossack cavalry swallowed his colossal army. By the time he returned to France, only a tiny remnant of his army was alive. The myth of his invincibility was shattered to pieces.
6. The Legend of the 100 Days and the Inevitable End, Waterloo.
Following the Russian disaster, all of Europe united against him. The Allies entered Paris and exiled him to the Mediterranean island of Elba in 1814. Yet, he was not a finished man. When he escaped the island a year later and set foot in France, the armies sent to arrest him laid down their weapons and defected to his side upon seeing their former commander. He entered Paris without firing a single bullet and reclaimed the throne. However, this 100 Days dream ended forever in 1815 on the plains of Belgium at the Battle of Waterloo, following a crushing defeat against the British, Duke of Wellington, and Prussian armies.
7. The fire extinguished in the middle of the ocean, the St. Helena exile.
This time, the Allies left nothing to chance. They exiled him to the desolate and windswept island of St. Helena, right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, off the coast of Africa, from which escape was impossible. He spent the rest of his life in a damp house, covered with toxic wallpaper, writing his memoirs and dreaming of his past victories. In 1821, at the age of 51, he passed away, likely from stomach cancer, or according to claims, by being slowly poisoned. His last words were, "France, the army, the head of the army, Josephine."